Two tropical disturbances are currently impacting our area, and a tropical wave in the Atlantic could develop later this week. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi, my friends. Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather. Hey, it's great to see you for the latest video. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, we have two broad disturbances that are bringing some heavy showers and storms to our area today. We've got Tropical Storm Lorenzo in the central Atlantic and a wave in the Atlantic Basin, which is going to be tracking closer to our area through the week ahead. We'll talk more about that coming up. As always, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys, offering free consultation and policy reviews. They'll walk you through that insurance claim process. All you have to do is go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. And look, as always, I love you guys. Let me know in the comments section below what's been happening in your area, what the weather has been like. Appreciate the weather community coming through and let me know what's happening in your area. We'll start off with a look at the surface analysis. And for just having one named storm, this is about as busy as you get here. We have our nor'easter off the east coast of the United States, developing gale conditions, coastal flooding, heavy rain up and down the eastern seaboard. Cold front extends all the way into the northern side of the Bahamas. That dashed line that you see is the trough, and that is going to be working through the Bahamas and into the greater Antilles in general to bring some significant rain, and it's already helping to promote some heavy shower activity in the northwest sides of the Caribbean. Tropical wave just off the eastern side of the Lesser Antilles. This has caused some problems today. We've had flash flood warnings for places like Barbados, and then two additional tropical waves in the Atlantic Basin that'll be working their way west through the week. We'll look at all of that, of course, in addition to Tropical Storm Lorenzo. So we'll get into the tropics in a second, but I do want to start with the active weather across our region for today. We have this broad system that has basically been impacting the Windward Islands throughout the day. Again, some of the heftiest showers and storms are still a few hundred miles to the east of the islands, but there is rich, deep tropical moisture. When I show you guys the visible satellite imagery, you'll see some of those brighter white cloud tops here just continuing to move over places like Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent in the Grenadines, Grenada, portions of Trinidad and Tobago. It has been, fairly area specific, but there has been some significant rain in some areas. For Barbados itself, we have a flash flood warning for the entire island through tomorrow morning, through Wednesday morning. They've seen locally 1 to 3 inches of rain, or up to 75 millimeters over portions of the island today. And with that disturbance still off towards the east, additional rainfall is likely to develop late on this Tuesday through early on Wednesday as all of this works its way across the island. So additional heavy, potentially flooding conditions are possible across the island. So if you live in Barbados, make sure you're very cautious and aware of some of the significant flooding that could be occurring. Obviously, if you live on Barbados, let me know in the comments section below. We continue to see, again, waves of some showers. St. Lucia, from St. Lucia down to St. Vincent in the Grenadines, Grenada, and again, portions of TNT. As you guys know, we have the live cameras here at Meteo Mundo, so it's easy to take a look at what's happening right now in St. Lucia from the Corinth area. We are looking back to the south, and generally speaking, the farther south in the island that you live, you had a little bit more cloud coverage and the opportunity for some heavier rain, but there's been some breaks in the action. To get as far north as St. Lucia, we haven't had the significant rain in a wide area as a few of the islands off towards the south. So again, it's just been fairly wet here, and there's been concentrations of some active rainfall for today. And again, some of the bulk of the activity has yet to even pull through the islands, and that'll be slowly creeping in tonight and throughout portions of Wednesday. Generally speaking, the farther north that you go right now in the Lesser Antilles, the quieter the weather has been. There's been some local showers for Martinique and Dominica and Guadeloupe. Again, a passing shower, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda, but many dry hours and locations for today. And I'm going to tell you right now, you live in these areas, enjoy it while you get it, because that is going to change starting late tomorrow through the rest of the week, and I'll show you why coming up. But not a bad afternoon for Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart, Saba, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Eustatius, of course, as well. Same situation for our friends in the Virgin Islands, Anegada, Virgin Gorda, Tortola, Jost Van Dyke, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Vieques, St. Culebra. Some breezy conditions here or there. The opportunity for an isolated shower, a rumble of thunder. I'll put on the live lightning data here, but it's not going to surprise me if we don't even get any lightning strikes, maybe 1 or 2 at most, with the limited moisture that has been developing across across these areas. Got a couple of pictures to show you. And take a look at this gorgeous shot from the British Virgin Islands. Tribophone Angel sent this in, and what a glorious shot. So you have these low-level kind of cumulus clouds developing here. Those are the puffy clouds, but in a line. And then you have your cirrus clouds here, kind of hit by either the early morning daylight, or this could be at dusk. I don't know if I was in the email whether I was told it was either one, but regardless, we're obviously here close to the sun at the horizon. And then you get these beautiful orange hues kind of glistening off of some of the higher cloud tops, which are made of ice crystals, right? These cirrus clouds, these wispy clouds are made of ice crystals. So what a fantastic shot. Let me get my ugly mug off the screen so you guys can see that. Appreciate again, Tribophone Angel sending that one in. And this is from Maria Munez there in San Juan. Again, a little bit of hazy sunshine for today. There has been a little bit of dust, which has helped to bring in some of these hues that you guys have seen in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And again, enjoy the dry weather while it's here. Now it's been hot where we've had the dry conditions in Puerto Rico. We've had heat advisories, but starting tomorrow across the island, it's going to get a lot wetter. Showers and storms are still fairly isolated today across the Dominican Republic and Haiti. But again, all of this area is going to see this trough work its way off towards the south and to the east, and it's going to be significant. There's going to be a ton of moisture. First of all, again, you're going to get this trough coming in, but then all of the tropical moisture coming in from this disturbance, and the combination of the two are going to make it very wet through the end of the week through a lot of the areas that I just mentioned. Right now, the most impactful conditions are through the central side of the Bahamas, from Cat Island and Exuma and Rum Key and San Salvador areas. Showers and a few rumbles of thunder here and there. They've been able to push as far east as the southeast Bahamas towards the Acklands, headed towards Bayaguana, an isolated thunderstorm over Anagua. Still relatively quiet over Turks and Caicos, but again, this is an area with a better opportunity for showers and storms later today and then through the rest of the week as well. Now you get north of that line, things have really dried out in the northwest Bahamas, so looking pretty good right now in those areas. And I gotta tell you something as well, when you look at temperatures, it's not a bad afternoon across the northern side of the Bahamas. Look at Freeport, Lucaya today coming in at just around 81 degrees, even New Providence around 82 there in the Nassau area. Of course, we have our live cameras also in the Bahamas. Live look outside is central Eleuthera. Still a little bit of rain passing on through. The breeze hasn't been very significant, and all of that moisture is moving to the south. So this is an area where that actual boundary is sitting right over Eleuthera, and deeper today and especially tomorrow, skies will clear out there. The farther south that you go, you're into more overcast conditions like over Long Island, and it's going to take deeper into Wednesday for things to eventually clear out and dry out in this area. But Long Island is going to see a better opportunity for some showers and some rumbles of thunder, at least through Wednesday. Scattered showers and storms continue to develop along that cold front and trough line, so it continues to be a wet afternoon for portions of Cuba. Another very active day across Jamaica. Showers and storms again have been very widespread. We've had the thunderstorm at sea warnings. We did even have some flash flood watches for the southern parishes yesterday, and you never know, from time to time that could be issued again because we've had that kind of significant rain. Now, over the last couple of frames, I want to pause this and show you where we've actually had the strongest thunderstorm activity, and this is in the Port Maria area here and kind of working south. So portions of St. Anne, Ocho Rios, towards St. Mary, the western sides of Portland Parish, and then you get towards Linstead and Halfway Tree and Kingston and Portmore and Spanish Town. And some of this activity should try and work your way into those areas deep into this Tuesday. And some of my friends who live in the Kingston area said you got some fairly significant rain yesterday. So of course, let me know in the comment section below if you're catching that. We've had some rain and storms over Montego Bay. You notice that their temperature is coming back down. There's been some breezy conditions from time to time, but for Jamaica today, it's more about just the hefty showers and storms in and around the area. Same situation over the Cayman Islands. Good to hear the Cayman Islands got some good thunderstorms yesterday. We had a few more closer to Little Cayman and Cayman Brac today. It's not as significant, but the opportunity is still there. You guys are right in this area of the richest tropical moisture, and from time to time, thunderstorms are still likely to develop. So your chances overall in the Cayman Islands are still relatively good. You know, we've had isolated activity across Cancun and Cozumel for today, but it's been mainly dry. I'll bring on the visible satellite imagery. You can clearly see this trough line, friends, and that's where the significant cloud coverage and some showers and storms are developing. They've been able to work their way as far west as the Bay Islands, so Guanaja and Roatan and Utila with some extra clouds and some passing showers and a rumble of thunder. Mainly quiet so far across Belize and most of Quintana Roo, but starting tomorrow, that should change a little bit, trying to get you a better chance for some showers and storms there. A little bit quieter overall, Honduras and Nicaragua. Portions of Costa Rica and Panama continue to see some brisk moving showers there. And we've had a lovely afternoon across the ABC Islands, but it's also been fantastic to hear that we've had some passing showers and a few thunderstorms from time to time. And a live look outside to Oranjestad shows you, as it typically does in the late afternoon, it's cleared out. It's been a beautiful afternoon across the Aruba here from the Eagle Beach area. Again, the sun glistening on the coastal waters. Not even much wind for today, but we'll still have some opportunities for local showers and storms in the ABC Islands over the next couple of days. Friends, as we get into the tropical outlook, real quick payback, if you don't mind, hit that like button for me. You know, it really helps out the channel more than you think. If you're getting anything out of this video, I really do appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, come join the fantastic weather community. Hit that subscribe button right now. Of course, it's always free. Thanks for sharing this with your family and friends. Appreciate those who are members of the channel. Again, 2 tiers. That's the join button. You want to support the channel for as little as 99 cents a month. And those who have found the way to support the channel with the super thanks as well. Appreciate all of my friends and in those regards as well. By the way, before we move on, Bermuda has had some healthy thunderstorms today with the front that has been moving through. So I wanted to highlight that as we get into the tropics. Let's dive into that right now. So let's discuss Tropical Storm Lorenzo. Obviously, again, because I didn't start out the video with Lorenzo, we know that this is not a significant storm. Lorenzo looks even worse than what it did yesterday. I believe they're still holding the winds. They went down to 40. Okay, so they were at 45. They're down to 40. Lorenzo is a very ragged, very sick, if you will, looking tropical system at this point in time. Visible satellite imagery here. Of course, we lose it pretty early this time of the year, but you can see in the open waters of the Atlantic, drier air out west, a little bit of shear kind of elongating the storm towards the north. This is a fish storm moving away. The Hurricane Center has it fully dissipating on Friday as a tropical system. But I'll show you why coming up, how we may not be completely done with the remnants of Lorenzo into next week. But as far as the tropical system, moving away. Now, it does have this curlicue, right? GFS picked up on this yesterday. All these gray lines are very weak pressures, right? Maybe the only thing left over with Lorenzo as it tries to recurve back on itself next week would be the mid-level spin. But I just want to point out that, again, maybe even into early next week, we might be talking about the mid-level low that's been left over from Lorenzo. But at this point in time, not an issue for us whatsoever. This is the tropical wave that I'm going to be continuing to monitor through the rest of the week. Talked about it yesterday. We looked at the models. I have some updates to those as well, but this looks to be a relatively vigorous wave. Now, you clearly see that the Hurricane Center does not have a development area as of yet. That could potentially happen in the next day or two. The Hurricane Center has plenty of time to monitor the situation and the model trends, just like we do as well. So I don't think they're going to pull the trigger on this more than likely imminently, or if they do, they slap it along yellow area, which is the low end chance for development as we go through the remainder of the week. But the models have actually been a little bit less aggressive in development in the MDR, or the main development region of the Atlantic today. Right? Now, again, is that a model trend where all the models start to back off on development here in the Atlantic Basin for the rest of the week? Or is this just kind of one of the bobbles back and forth and it'll continue to, show development of some kind for the week ahead? Now, notice that I said that development potentially not in the Atlantic, but still down the road, a lot of the models have that wave developing. Maybe some as far east as the Western Atlantic, maybe some not until it actually gets into the Caribbean. So let's get into that right now. We'll bring up the models. We'll start off with the GFS. Again, we're not going to go out crazy 2 weeks or anything like that. We just don't need to. I'm going to take you out about 7-8 days and show you what's likely to happen here in the MDR of the Atlantic. First of all, again, there is dissipating Lorenzo, but we'll talk more about this little spin trying to hold together and come back towards the west. Now, you see that through the week, things remain relatively sloppy, okay? that even as we get towards, I'm going to pause this here. So even as we kind of get towards the weekend, we start to see this very low latitude track of this wave trying to pump in some moisture just before it gets towards the Lesser Antilles. But this is not a fully organized system at this point in time. So, right now, as we kind of get towards the weekend and early next week on the GFS model, we have what could be a very heavy rainmaker moving through with some gusty conditions over portions of the Lesser Antilles. Again, we don't want to even talk about the exact areas at this point in time, but it's on such low latitude track with this newest run of the GFS, it actually begins to run into the northern side of South America, and that could really hinder potential development here until maybe it slips off the north coast and then tries to reestablish itself somewhere in the Eastern Caribbean. So this would be like a week out from now. So we're talking about over the weekend and especially into next week. I've got it out as far as next Wednesday. And again, you just see kind of a broader system here that the GFS ultimately tries to wrap up a little bit more closer to the ABC Islands. Now, regardless of development, this is a heck of a lot of moisture and rain moving in. And it's not just this one. There's another disturbance ahead of it that could bring a lot of heavier rain back with the monsoon trough on the southwest side of the Caribbean. But as far as actual development with this on the GFS as of right now, it's a little bit weaker and not as pronounced. Remember, yesterday we had a closed low coming into the Lesser Antilles by about Monday of next week. So let me show you guys the spin in the atmosphere. This is the vorticity product here. It's going to give you a good idea of where the GFS is trying to pick up on, still holding on to some rotation. Now again, this isn't the spin at the surface. This is a composite of the lower levels of the atmosphere, but it gives me a good idea of areas that we should be watching. Now, it still holds this system together in a broad way, and you can clearly see the spin associated with it gets a little bit more prominent the deeper into the Caribbean that we go. So I think there fully is a question, if I pause this here, as we get towards the weekend again, does this area really try and wrap up? Is there enough shear, to limit that? Is there land interaction because it's so far south that we start to pick up some land interaction with South America? And as it pulls a little bit more north in latitude near the ABC Islands, does it try and get a little bit better organized about a week out from now? These are all questions that are still up in the air. There's plenty of time to monitor the situation. When we don't have a developed low-level center, and I mentioned this many times this hurricane season, to see the models go back and forth like this at the beginnings of the genesis of these waves is absolutely something we should expect, okay? So it's not surprising that it's backed off a little bit, and we'll see if that continues to be a trend, or by this time tomorrow, we're back to a closed low east of the Lesser Antilles. By the way, that's the mid-level circulation from Lorenzo. Watch it one more time. It's very interesting, right? Lorenzo stops being tropical about here, but the mid-level spin holds together and tries to swing its way back into the Leeward Islands come about a week's time from now. So we'll see if there's anything associated with that. By the way, that's the trough coming in with all the heavy rain for the Greater Antilles and portions of the Lesser Antilles coming up over the next few days. Here's the European model. Again, that's the nor'easter pulling away. More than likely is not going to get to become a named storm or anything like that, but potentially close low. I've stopped it about 6 days from now, and you do not see anything right now on the European ensemble members developing. However, when we look at the chance of development overall from the European model, right, we've got Lorenzo here. This is actually the remnants of Jerry, but this is the tropical wave. So watch the tropical wave coming in, and there is still a 50 to 60% chance of development with that wave, and this takes us until the end of the weekend ahead. So overall, the European model is still signaling likely development with that wave, and so we'll have to monitor that. Again, does it happen closer to the Lesser Antilles, or is it into the Caribbean before it actually does? The ICON model had the same scenario as the Euro yesterday, where had a closed low developing before the Lesser Antilles. Let's look what happens for this today as we get towards the weekend, right? First of all, a lot of moisture, a lot of rain. We do get a closed low from time to time, right? You see that 1,009, 1,010 pressure, very weak system, but a closed low. It's a little bit stronger, again, late Monday, early Tuesday, as you get into the Eastern Caribbean. Regardless, I think this is likely to bring a heck of a lot of rain and some squally conditions at the minimum, and then we'll have to see if this wants to try and get its act together and become truly low-level wrapped-up storm, depression storm from there. We'll see how it goes. But that's the newest on the models. If you live in the Eastern Caribbean, again, I'm going to be monitoring the situation. We've got plenty of time to watch out because I got to tell you something. We've got a lot to happen before that even tries to get close to our area in the form of what could continue to be some pretty significant weather. So let me show you guys that. We're going to get into your island by island rainfall forecast, as you know that we do. So let me set up again what is going to be happening here over the next couple of days. First of all, I got to make sure I bring on the reflectivity. There we go. All right. And I am farthest out in time. Okay. So again, as the mid-level low with this nor'easter off the east coast of the United States pulls away, it is likely to bring very fresh breezes and some rainfall towards Bermuda. And then that trough is going to swing off south and east. It's going to combine with the tropical wave that is moving into the Eastern Caribbean, and you, my friends, just get a big swath of heavy rain across a vast area from the central Bahamas, southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, portions of Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and especially the Leeward Islands. Get prepared for some very wet weather. Certainly, we're going to see some widespread rain. In some areas, it's going to be significant. It's not going to surprise me if tomorrow we're going to be talking about some flood advisories in some areas, and it could be any of the areas that I've already mentioned. Obviously, it's going to be overcast. We're to cool things off because of that, but it's really about the amount of rain that could fall between now and about Friday afternoon in some of these areas where, again, there's plenty of moisture and lift in the atmosphere, and you can clearly see how wet it's going to end up being. Some of this rain, again, will be as far west as Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, and even a little bit of that energy could slip towards the Yucatan and portions of Central America as well. So basically, almost everywhere outside of the northern Bahamas are going to be wetter over the next 3 days than what we've seen. Now, we'll continue to see some widespread showers and storms the farther south into the Lesser Antilles that you go. Switch over here and show you guys that real fast. But I do expect this system to have more impacts a little bit farther north, basically from the St. Lucia and especially Martinique areas north. So that's good news, right? Because Barbados is dealing with flash flooding right now. We don't want the combination of the two. This area is more impacted by the tropical disturbance, where areas farther north are impacted by the combination of the disturbance and that trough coming in. You get too far south and east, that trough fizzled out before you have direct impacts, but there's still a ton of moisture that'll be lifting through these areas. And some of that moisture is likely to also pass over the ABC Islands, where I still have a pretty good chance for rain over the next couple of days. It's not going to be as widespread as areas north, but there are some spots that are 70, 80% chance for showers the next few days, not just one day, but the next few days. So get ready for it. Here's how it plays out. Again, this is your driest area, Northwest Bahamas, Grand Bahama included in that, just a 20% chance for showers. Central Southeast Bahamas will begin to dry out as well, but still a 40% chance for some rain tomorrow. Turks and Caicos, 50% chance, still 40 on Thursday, and then drier on Friday. Very widespread showers and storms with some heavier rain across Cuba. Cayman Islands rain chances are 40 to a 50% chance each day. Again, it's just does that heavy rain fall right over your area, or is it just offshore? But the chance is certainly going to be there through Friday. Belize City's rain chances stay again a little bit more isolated, slightly building towards Cancun and Cozumel, certainly not washouts with many dry hours and locations in those areas. Jamaica's rain chance, really solid 50% chance. Again, kind of like the Cayman Islands, there could be some pockets of really heavy rain. We'll see if it falls over the island, but certainly an elevated rain chance through Friday. The Dominican Republic, a 90% chance for rain tomorrow. Again, it gets into the higher elevations. We'll have to concern ourselves with some flooding in some of the lower terrain. 80 Thursday, 60 Friday, 80 in Puerto Rico tomorrow and Thursday, still 50 on Friday. Building in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, again, the trough moving from northwest to southeast. So the farther east that you live, you start to get the more significant weather more on Thursday than anything else, and still an 80% chance on Friday. Bermuda's rain chances are high the next couple of days. Anguilla again building to a 90% chance on Thursday, still 80 Friday. Same situation for St. Kitts and Nevis. Good chance for rain Wednesday, then exceptional rain chances Thursday and Friday. And again, these areas directly impacted by Jerry. Some don't really need more rain right now. Others can probably handle some, but we don't want excessive rainfall. Building rain chances. Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat up to an 80% chance on Friday. Guadeloupe's best rain chances on Thursday, but it's still high Wednesday and Friday. Same situation for Dominica. Martinique bracketed by a 40% chance of rain up to a 60 on Thursday. And again, drier overall, but still some heavier rain. Your best chance in St. Lucia and SVG is tonight through early on Wednesday, with some passing showers on Thursday and Friday as a possibility, but just not as widespread. Barbados, Grenada included in that. I've got a good chance for rain in TNT for your Wednesday, and then falling a bit, but just a 40% chance on Friday, so still some rain out there. Suriname and Guyana with elevated rain chances. Nueva Esparta should see a few showers tomorrow and Thursday. And again, very low chance tomorrow in the ABC Islands, but late Wednesday, Thursday morning, more moisture coming back in with a better chance overall on Thursday, and again on Friday at a 30% chance. It's going to be churned up because as that trough pulls through, you notice that all of these arrows here, at least in the short term, are all going to be out of the north. So you're going to get some swells that come through the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, northern side of the Greater Antilles in general, all the way towards the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. And then, by the way, what happens with that disturbance moving into the Lesser Antilles? Now, again, this model is based off the GFS, so you see some additional wave activity late this weekend there, and then a redevelopment of an area in the Central Caribbean. So again, as we get towards the weekend, here comes that at least broad disturbance, and also freshening up some of the sea conditions just south of Jamaica and Haiti and the Dominican Republic early next week. That can still change. There's a lot of wave action, though, in the Western Atlantic Basin with that trough and nor'easter. There could also be some very significant rain. Again, notice how it all pushes south with that trough line, and you start to see a lot of reds over the Lesser Antilles, especially the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. There's just all of this red on the map. This is indicative of at least a few inches of rain, at least 50 to 75 millimeters, but in a lot of spots, this is 4 or 5 plus inches of rain, 100 to 125 millimeters in the coming days. And it's just extremely widespread. You have to get to our far northern areas where you don't have the potential for some excessive rainfall from time to time. Again, some of you could use this kind of rain. Others have had just a little bit too much to really want to have that much that's in the forecast. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You can follow us across all of our social media platforms. We are indeed on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. As always, you want to send me a picture or video, simplest way to do that's going to be myMediaMundo@gmail.com. You have a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. I'm happy to answer it there. And of course, while you're down there, thank you for taking a quick second and hitting that like button for me, and of course, subscribing to the channel. And please remember, our sponsor of the channel is the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Storm damage of any kind, a burst pipe, even an auto accident, they can walk you through the insurance claim process. They offer free consultation and policy reviews, so you really have nothing to lose. It's leanonmelaw.com for more information. Obviously, there's a lot going on. I'm going to continue to monitor the situation. I'm back tomorrow with the latest. Until then, my friends, you take care, and I will see you soon right here at Media Mundo.